now.
Okay, go ahead.
Matter of fact, it's not even like a disagreement so much. It's more a question. What is with you and the draft and the affiliation of that with females being privileged?
So, do you think it's not a privilege to not, wait, do you think, how do I frame this? Do you think it is not a privilege to not be subject to forced military conscription?
You're not going to like my answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that the draft was created by Henry Wilson, right? And
What?
it was like first created by Henry Wilson, a man, right? The ideology.
I'm not familiar with the draft, like specifically with the
United States draft,
but
yeah.
forced military
The
conscription.
forced military, yeah, like for men.
It wasn't
like,
invented in whatever year you think it. That's something that's gone on for all of human history.
No, for sure. I'm saying, I'm not invented like the term draft or.
Okay, so go
I'm
ahead.
saying the U.S.
All right,
draft
I'll
was
hear you out.
established. The U.S. draft, because in other countries they include women. There are countries that include women.
No, besides Israel,
I was gonna
women are
say
not.
Israel, yeah.
There might be a.
With that being said, my point is the implementation of the draft was created by a man, and I feel that it does treat women as though they are inadequate or unequal. More so, I would love to serve in the military. So I am
Hold on. Okay.
biased.
There's like a million different things there. So let me. I want to address those. So you said that it treats women. It views women as what again?
Incapable or inadequate.
Okay, so we'll start there. But,
Or in need of protection by men.
okay, so first let's just get this out of the way. Who's physically stronger, men or women?
Men. And the average weight of a man outweighs a woman, so.
Okay. And you said you would like to join the military. There's
would.
nothing preventing you from joining the military.
I've tried. I have to remove some tattoos.
Okay, well,
I think
that would apply to men too.
No, I'm not saying that like it's my gender is restricting me from
Well,
joining
that's
the military. I'm saying that I think it's unfair that women are not a part of the draft, but not because they are privileged. I think
I won't cut in for long. I just wanted to know, what was the gentleman's name that you cited as the creator of conscription in the United States?
Henry Wilson.
And then what year?
I didn't say a year.
Yeah, no, but what year roughly?
I don't remember.
Henry Wilson is the same?
Henry Wilson. You can
Okay.
check. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. Now that that's confirming, yeah. With that being said,
I mean, I see something about
also
he was a U.S. Born 1793, died 1872, was a U.S. Army officer who served in 5 wars and countless conflicts. I don't see anything about, unless Henry Wilson.
Instead of just Googling his name, perhaps Google like who imposed the draft in the U.S. It's that simple, and you'll see him.
We could, but I'm also failing to see how it's at all relevant.
I'm just saying, like, it was a decision made by man. It's not
well, it wouldn't even matter.
This is actually incorrect. Conscription happened long before Henry Wilson put in an official draft act.
When did it?
But what's
we've had conscription since the inception of the nation, including the militia. So just letting you know that it is true that as far as an official draft act, no, conscription had been going on in the United States for long before that.
I mean.
So what's your point? You're saying that, well, it's a singular man.
I think a singular men on representation of at the time, like a Congress and just like full of men. So men determined that we could not serve in the draft. We didn't ask for that. We are not privileged with that. That is a man-given law that is imposed on us. We don't have a say in that.
It's like so frustrating debating with you because like
you're welcome.
You don't really make a coherent point, but
if you say so.
Okay, so what is your point exactly?
My point was that you claim we are privileged because of that. I don't think we are. Furthermore,
what does it
there
matter?
are societal disadvantages that are proven between like men and women that we're still like The wage gap, of course.
That's been totally debunked. There is no wage gap. There's an earnings gap, and that's because men work different jobs and work more hours than women.
No, in the same,
do you agree that
it's proven that like male doctors make like 20 grand a year on average more than women.
What if they're, okay, I haven't seen the specific data you're referencing.
Yeah, that's due specifically to field. That's due specifically to field.
Yeah, what if they
that's
get into
why that is
but that's
fields,
a field that they can both get
fields,
in.
Hang on, because especially male surgeons are in fields specifically that pay far more. For instance, if you're a heart doctor versus a toe doctor or proctologist, you may get paid a lot more. That's why that's the case. When you break down by field, that is not the case.
I would have to look into that statistic. You may be right, I don't know, but I do know.
Here, let's bring it back to, I want to try to move the wage thing actually into the military. So do you think women should be paid the same as men?
Yeah.
So what do you think about, for example, in jobs where there's an expectation of having to lift heavy things or physically laborious jobs? Do you think, for example, in the military, men and women should be paid equally?
I think they should be paid equally and be given jobs that they are capable of and will excel in.
Why is it then, for example, when it comes to soldiers, when it comes to police officers, when it comes to firefighters, why are the physical requirements for women lower than for men?
I didn't know that.
They are.
I didn't know that.
If it was the case, far fewer women would get this affirmative action to actually even participate in these sorts of jobs. I do think, to like simplify it and to reference like one of your other shows, though, I think it's as simple as Andrew said. Hold on. Let me make this even way simpler. Okay. Let's say there's a job that says you need to carry 200 pounds from point A to point B, and that's just a straight line. Yep. And let's say that men are more physically capable of doing that job, and they can do it faster, and they can go back and forth more times in a given day. Do you think women should be paid the same as men, given that in a day, over the course of a day, they're going to perhaps have an output that's 50% that of men?
I think women should be paid the same as men, and I think people's work performance generally is constantly assessed, and if someone's underperforming, then that will be addressed. But more so, I also think, as Andrew and you have referenced in the past, we have guns like in the military, which, as you guys have said verbatim yourself, make equal men and women, or are the best. Like I don't want to paraphrase Andrew, but he said something of thereabouts in like your last podcast. So like both of them can shoot. I don't think one should be paid less than the other.
There's a lot more to the military than just shooting a gun.
I agree, but I think that they should be paid the same and they have the same abilities and they're capable of the same abilities.
Yeah, do you think that a soldier's duties are limited to shooting?
No, I think they go beyond that. And I think there's jobs like that people can, like society suggests are more feminine oriented, like nurses in the military too.
No. Back to this. Military. Do you think that soldiers are limited to shooting?
No, I just.
Or do you think that they have to carry large quantities of gear and be physically strong? Yeah. No. I mean, anybody who's in combat is going to have to carry a large amount of gear.
Yeah. That's reasonable. I think like if you are
aren't men going to be better at doing that than women?
Carrying gear, I think the gear is. Yeah. I think you're heavily exaggerating the weight of that
gear.
No,
I don't think I'm.
Women wear those uniforms all the time.
How much do you think, on average, a soldier carries in gear?
I couldn't tell you. I'm not one to guess weight or anything. I wouldn't know, but I know that women wear those uniforms and carry that gear, not at the same amount, but they do.
It's often 70 plus pounds.
Okay.
They're carrying all day. But it could be much heavier, upwards of 100 pounds. Do you think that men or women are going to be more equipped to do that on average?
I mean, like I said, like men are physically heavier, so they physically have a mass in which can carry more. But I don't think that up to 100 pounds is out of either grown person's like general ability.
Yeah, no, it is outside the purview of most women's abilities to carry 100 pounds around all day long. Yes, that's
sure I'm not the only woman in this room that could.
What's that?
I could definitely carry 100 pounds, and I'm sure I'm not the only woman in this room that could.
Could you carry it around all day long?
Put me in a military suit. Let's find out.
I mean, do you think most women could?
I think the human body is capable of a lot of things. Yeah, I think the human body is very strong and very persevering and adaptive.
Well, if this is the case, then how come it is that women, when they go out for special services selection, have not been able to make the cut? And why is it that the infantry has had lower standards for women in order for women to pass the cut? Why are the standards lower for women with the physical requirements inside of the military?
I didn't know they were, so you're asking me a question that I already acknowledged. I was like, unaware of.
Well, it's the same thing with police. Hang on, it's the same thing with police. It's the same thing for most of those types of jobs. The standards, the physical standards, are less. They're less rigorous for women than they are for men. Why would you think that was, if you had to guess?
I would guess it's proportionate to like our average masses and our average like capabilities. Like, of course, and I'm not denying that.
I totally agree.
But I still think they're capable.
Yeah, so this would mean on average, so that men are far better suited for that role, right?
I mean,
so if you were in charge of having an armed services of the United States, and you were to have to choose between resources, how much are you going to allocate resources to the soldiers who are fighting in the battles versus the one who are supporting the fighters in the battles? And you were able to determine that one sex was far more capable at fighting the battles than the other. Which one would you allocate your resources towards?
You're saying this like the people that fight the heaviest get paid the most in the military, which isn't true anyway. So you're
no, I'm not saying it like that at all.
That's
I'm going to ask
how you're phrasing it.
Again.
It's not
so I'm going to ask
valid.
this question again. If you had to allocate resources between support roles and combat roles, and you found that one sex predominantly was far better at the combat role than the support role, which way would you allocate your resources?
You're saying this as if there's only two roles, and if your hypothetical is
no,
the only way,
I'm literally saying this as though there could be thousands of combat roles and thousands of support roles, but you find that one sex is dominant in the combat roles.
Okay, yeah.
And you have the resources.
And I'm not denying that.
Which way are you allocating them?
But there's so many other roles. Like, I'm not denying what you're saying. I'm agreeing. Like, yeah, like the roles that are better suited for like a higher tier of physical strength are going to be allotted to the higher biological sex's gender tier of physical strength, which is men. I'm not denying that.
Right.
But so you're still dancing around the point I made that there's so many
for
roles.
Hours on end, for days on end, carrying huge amounts of gear, fighting day and night. You would allocate your resources towards men, right?
Okay.
Wouldn't you?
I already like agreed with that part. I'm just waiting for the punchline.
Well, the punchline, now that we've gotten through this, is to just say that, generally speaking, then, if you have to allocate resources, what kind of military you want, why wouldn't you try to make standards that towards men? That's going to make a better military, right?
I'm sorry, you gotta say that one more time. It did. The point didn't point. I'm sorry.
If you can allocate all of the resources of your nation towards a mostly male fighting force or a mostly female fighting force, which one would you do?
I already answered this. Answered this. To the combat force we just established, I guess combat is better suited if it requires heavier lifting than technically, physically for men. But combat, as I stated for
Did you say
multiple times, combat
is
not the only role in the military by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, but every other role is to support people in combat roles.
Tell that to Air Force officers.
They would tell you that people in support roles in the military know that their job is to support people in combat roles. That's the point.
Okay.
Why would that not be the point? The job of the American military is to kill our enemies, both foreign and domestic. All support roles are in the endeavor of supporting the people who do that killing on our behalf. That's what they're there to do. They're not there to do anything else but to kill the enemies of the United States, both foreign and domestic. That's it. That's their whole role, nothing but their role.
The military does other things besides just mass murder, but like, I hear you.
I didn't say mass murder. What are you talking? I said that their role is to kill the enemies of the United States, both foreign and domestic. That's their job. Their job's not to go hand out food at fucking soup kitchens. Their job is to kill the enemies of the United States. That's their job.
They have various jobs. We're not in the military to speak on their jobs. They get special missions all the time that we can't even like fathom, that are in order to retrieve items and things of that. Like, we can't speak on that. You're not in the military to even like.
Can I just interrupt?
What does that have to do with anything? Like, what is that? Who cares? Their secret missions are all there and designed to assist in people who are in the roles of killing the enemies of the United States. That's their job. Literally, that's their job.
I don't mean to interrupt, but if everyone in this table did jujitsu, you wouldn't question.
What the fuck, bro?
Let me just say, you would not question how physical guys are versus ladies. You wouldn't question their strength. You would know that you have very little.
Their strength.
Well, you're putting the strength of males and the strength of ladies.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to.
It's just it humbles you a lot.
Cool
That's
stories.
all.
Here, let me have a little bit of a back and forth with her on this.
All right, I just had one question before you turn it over, Brian. Just one question. Yeah. If you could choose jujitsu, lady, between if we had no gun of any kind and it was just the militaries both knew jujitsu, would you allocate your resources towards male jiu-jitsu fighters or female jiu-jitsu fighters?
Asking me or her?
Are you asking me?
No, jiu-jitsu lady.
Okay, I'm like, what?
Well, that was my whole point, that there's no competition.
What?
There's a reason why females fight females and guys fight guys.
Got it.
There's no competition.
What's the point of women learning jiu-jitsu, though, if a man can still beat them up with no experience?
It's about
there's no point to doing it.
It's about learning self-defense and learning how to be humbled.
But it's useless if a man is stronger than you.
Wait, I got a question.
It's absolutely not, because the idea is that hopefully whoever is stupid enough to attack me, I have leverage because I have knowledge.
But you just acknowledge that the men would win.
Oh, absolutely. I know how it is to be hit, and it's not fun.
Okay.
But at least I know how it is to be hit.
Hardest lady on the whole panel right there.
From a dating perspective, I want to ask you, because you do jujitsu, right? I would have some hesitations dating a woman who did jujitsu, because invariably she's going to be in these mixed gender classes, and men are going to be touching her. And I know, look, it's probably innocent, but on some level, I feel that kind of. And I don't know if the chat feels the same way. I would feel a bit uncomfortable with my girlfriend or wife being that physical with men. Because you roll with men, right?
Yes. But that's why we have female classes.
Right. But something, I don't know if that, like, I would not feel comfortable with my girl going to jujitsu and like rolling.
The way I see it is that there's a no homo rule, where I'm doing it to gain some skills, and honestly, if someone were to attack me, they would be on top of me either way.
But the point of training is so that you prepare for real life scenarios.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you would need to you can spar with men, which brings it back to his point.
Which I do, yeah.
But then again, there's no point to learning jiu-jitsu.
Are you asking me if the guys that I go against use their full strength against me? Because they do not.
Then there's no point in training with them.
No, there is. It's called learning, and it's called failing and then jumping back in and trying again.
I don't know.
But in a real world situation,
in a real world situation,
that's not my question. That's not my question.
It's
a dating question. It's just like.
Well,
I don't care about the self-defense.
My question is, why aren't you doing jiu-jitsu with your girlfriend or wife? Why aren't you in the class with her?
I just feel like it's maybe there's some degree of impropriety of your girlfriend or wife wrestling and rolling around with other men. I think that is not, I could be wrong, I don't know.
I feel like that's a insecurity, but if you were there with her, you would know.
What do you mean?
Well, that's just your imagination getting the best of you. Because you're.
I think she's saying make it a couple's activity. I think that's what she's saying. It should definitely
be a couple's activity.
Like, can't you just buy a gun?
Facts.
Like, just buy a gun.
Please.
Just buy a gun if you want to defend yourself. Don't fucking roll around with dudes. I don't know.
I can't believe I'm agreeing.
So
I don't know.
So let's say you were to attack me right now, and I didn't have a gun.
I don't care about the self-defense component of it. I feel like there's a degree of impropriety if you're dating a girl or married to a girl and she's like rolling around, grappling with men. And I say this as somebody who wrestled in high school, so I'm not like, I don't have this like unfamiliarity with grappling. I do. I wrestled in high school, and I wrestled there were girls on the team, and we wrestled. Just something about it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable if I was dating somebody who was involved in grappling. I don't know.
This literally happened to Tom Brady, I think.
Oh, it did it?
Yeah.
Giselle Bundchen? Oh, people in the chat keep saying Tom Brady. So, yeah, she cheated on him, apparently.
Oh, God.
Bro, that's another reason why you shouldn't get married, boys, because even if you're fucking Tom Brady, you're still going to get cheated on.
Find better women.
This is a dating podcast, right? How come you never have couples on here?
We've had couples on here.
You have? I haven't seen them.
A couple times. It's pretty rare, though. I don't know why the chat's coming for me on this one. Like, it's weird, but wait, okay, so hold on. So your whole thing is you object to the draft?
No, I don't object to it. I think it should be equal, and I think
me too.
I don't think it should be equal for the same reason you do. I think it should be equal just like you. I don't think we are privileged. That's what I was leading, because you always affiliate the draft with women being privileged. It's
absolutely a privilege.
I don't think women in society are privileged.
You don't think women are privileged? Do you think men are privileged?
They historically are. It's proven.
Okay. So what right do you think men have?
What do you mean it's proven?
Let me just have a little back and forth here.
Like, we're in a shifting former patriarchy.
Okay, so do you think men have more rights than women?
I'd say now they've gotten pretty equal, but there's still like lingering patriarchal connotations that need to be wiped.
What's the patriarchy?
The patriarchy is, well, by definition, it's like a society that kind of oppressed women and like promoted, like was in favorance of men.
A patriarchy is a society that like oppressed women and is in favorance of men.
It has been like right? Historically, yeah.
Okay.
Patriarchy was historically societies where men were in charge and women were.
What percentage of men do you think were in charge?
That's a good question. I couldn't tell you.
Okay. So if I told you that less than 1% of men
I'd believe it.
Ever in, it's probably way less than 1% of men.
I'd believe it.
So, okay.
But I also think there's still not enough women
under this patriarchy, under this supposed patriarchy, are women oppressed?
Yeah, they were.
Are women oppressed in the United States?
Modern day, like now?
Yeah.
Not like they used to be. I think we're exiting oppression, but I think, like I said, like it's just like, I'm trying to think of how to phrase this badly. It's like, I don't feel women in society this day and age are still oppressed, but I feel like it was so recent that it lingers, and we as women still need to like work our way to the top even more. We are still not entirely equal in certain sects. We now have the ability to be, but it's going to take time to get there. For instance, we only represent like a small percentage, like 19%, not even, of all of like Congress, and much less in the other sects of leadership.
Well, let me ask you a question related to that. So if male politicians pander to women voters anyways, what does it actually matter?
Like, since we're voting for them, you're saying.
So male politicians typically aren't pandering to, for like.
Pandering by pandering, I'm sorry.
They pander to women.
Like,
for women, appeal to women's emotions, appeal to their various causes. It's very rare that you've ever heard a politician ever appeal for anything that relates to men's rights or anything like that. So truthfully, it wouldn't even matter.
Well, I disagree because there are politicians that are in favor of and promote big business, and a lot of those big businesses are run by men, so it perpetuates the patriarchy.
Okay, so that's a bunch of word salad that you just threw out there. So are women oppressed under this patriarchy?
This day and age, I think our modern laws are not oppressive, but I think we're still recovering from a formerly oppressive patriarchy. Okay,
so how were women oppressed?
We didn't have the right to vote. We didn't have the right. Now women finally own more homes than men. We didn't have the right to a mortgage till recently, till like 1973.
Didn't women not want the right to vote? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't believe that's. I think they fought for the right to vote.
Well, it's interesting. Women were able to secure the right to vote without the corresponding responsibility of being subject to forced military conscription.
I mean, I don't agree with that. That was imposed by men.
Okay, it's always victim blaming, basically.
Men are victims now.
No, it's like this weird victim blaming thing of like, well, who's
the victim?
Whose fault is that? Well, it's men. So
men are victims.
Well, in an arena.
So you are a victim. I empathize.
I would argue that in a lot of ways, men are victims. Okay. For example, men are much more likely to be incarcerated. Men are much more likely to be homeless. Men are much more likely to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Men are much less likely to go to university. Men are much more likely to get a higher education.
Men have a higher rate of sociopathy and sociopaths.
That's actually not true. They recently there's a new study.
In jail more.
There's a very recent. Would you make that same argument when it comes to race?
What?
Would you make that same argument when it comes to race? You're saying men are more violent. You're saying men are more violent.
No, men are like literally diagnosed more often as psychopaths and sociopaths.
You realize
something they're born.
You realize criminality is a very, very small percentage of men.
In jail, the population is estimated to be 10 to 20% psychopaths or sociopaths when they make up less than 1% of the world, and it's primarily men.
Okay, dark triad, mental illness absolutely contributes to criminality. Cool. Okay, so I don't even know. Like, you're so. Like, the way you argue is so fucking weird and annoying. It's like hard to engage with you. Okay, so I listed a couple ways in which men are disadvantaged.
Okay.
I can give you some more. So also men upon birth, a lot of them in this country, most of them in this country are, they have no bodily autonomy, so they're circumcised. And I think that should be something that, you should be able to consent to, perhaps when you're 18. So there's a few. And then, of course, there's the forced military conscription. So, I mean, yes, if you actually were to add up the ways in which men are disadvantaged and compare them to women, I'm actually prepared to make an argument that men are more disadvantaged in a myriad of ways than women are.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
It's not how I feel.
Killer of Cereal donated $100. A white male, a black female, and a half Asian, half Native American hermaphrodite all grew up in the same household. They all get the same benefits in life. White privilege is a myth.
Thank you, Killer of Cereal. You said in a kind of flippant, dismissive way, you said that you're sorry I feel that way. Well, I don't just feel that way.
Because you said I don't agree that you are more oppressed, but if you feel you are, then I authentically empathize with you for what you feel is
okay, so I just listed out a bunch of ways that it's not just how I feel men are experiencing life. It's actually statistically proven. There's studies, there's data that you can look at.
I rebutted to the jail study. I didn't.
You didn't rebut.
The jail statement, but there were further on that list. So
let me ask you. Okay, let me ask you a question. Do you feel that African Americans are are victims of a sort of systemically racist system when it comes to incarceration?
Yes.
Okay, so if we look at statistics, then we can actually make far more. How about, actually, before, let me walk it back a bit. Do you think that the police misconduct, police brutality, police killings of African Americans is evidence of racism or systemic racism or racism in this country?
It has been.
Okay, so what if I told you, if we were to, for example, if we've made comparisons of police killings between white men and black men per capita, what if I told you that something that blows that statistic way out of the water is the discrepancy in police brutality and police killings between men and women?
So women are less likely in general to get.
So there's an even bigger gap. So if we're comparing white to black, there's an even bigger gap between men and women. So would that then be evidence of systemic sexism?
If the data represents it, then yeah. I don't know the exact statistics.
I've just provided it for you.
No, you didn't give me exact numbers and figures. No, I don't know.
Okay, well, here's an example. There are more white men who are killed by police than there are women who are killed by police of all races combined.
But there's more white men in America than other races of
No,
women.
I said all races of women combined. That includes white women.
Okay, no,
it includes black women, Latina women,
right.
other.
Okay. Versus women.
Yeah.
Got it. Then that stems back to the point I was stating before about how men have a higher rate of sociopathy.
Okay, so take that to its logical conclusion. Are you prepared to make that same argument for against black men?
That they have a higher rate of sociopathy and psychopathy than women?
Than white men. You need to be.
No, I don't think that.
Interesting. Okay, so you're basically.
They've been like targeted by the police historically. It's proven. Like it's documented, it's proven. But I mean, we can agree to disagree on that if that's how you feel. Like I've seen like the videos, I know of the data, I know like I don't know the exact figures, so you could educate me on those, argue with me on them, whatever floats your boat. But I know that like, yeah, there is systemic oppression that's affected African American people. Yeah. By police. Like there's been racist police brutality.
There has been, but do you think just because, for example, let's say a black man is killed by police, does it necessarily mean he was killed because he was black?
No, it doesn't mean that. It doesn't guarantee that.
Okay. But
it's happened.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
Cool.
Oh my God, that's like ridiculous. Should I just restate my position? And I feel like you've failed to actually make a compelling argument.
I feel like the conversation just ended out of nowhere. Like, what point are you trying to like make?
Well, again, when I listed and I enumerated a couple ways in which men are disadvantaged.
And we clearly have to agree to disagree on the jail statistics, but furthermore.
Okay, so fine. Let me just, even though I'm prepared, even if I'm prepared to argue that, let me just totally concede the jail one.
Okay, yeah.
So
next problems.
Okay, so suicidality. Men are much more likely to commit suicide in this country. Mm-hmm. Also, men are much more likely to be homeless. Let's tackle those two.
I agree, and I empathize highly with that. I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
It doesn't, but you just said
I
that
think men need better mental health resources.
But your position was that men are not disadvantaged.
I never said they're not disadvantaged.
That's literally what you said.
Women are more disadvantaged.
Okay, so
women are not privileged in contrast to
currently. Tell me something. Tell me a way in which women are disadvantaged. Compared to men.
We're like 80. Not 80 times. I want to get the statistic 100% right, and I don't want to sound vulgar. We are, I guess, 5 times more likely to get SA'd.
I mean, it depends on your definition of that. And then if you incorporate, for example, men who are SA'd in prison facilities, then actually my understanding is that
they're incorporated in that statistic. And no, it's not equalized.
I would have to review the data.
Women are like at least 5 times more likely to be trafficked. We are literally still on a global scale still victimized by the patriarchy. That hence like as trafficking rings and things of that nature. Sex work, we could say that, yeah, sex work, I'm thoroughly convinced was established by men because men are policing it to this day.
So women have no agency?
They do, thank God. I think that's why women nowadays feel empowered by OnlyFans, as they've stated, because it's them being able to like control themselves and navigate their own bodies and not be
The
policed.
evil patriarchy institutes sex work, and the women with agency
patriarchy
then
has
participate in the sex work. This is a genius argument.
I think you can't hate sex workers when men are constantly abusing sex workers.
Why would, let's assume for a second that, I don't know, the SA rates were 1,000 times between the sexes. How would that prove that men are privileged in society over women?
1,000 times,
Yeah, that women are
like,
1,000 times more likely to be gay than men. Yeah.
How would
that prove that men are privileged in society over women? It would just show that women are disadvantaged biologically in a sense.
But that's my point. He said women are privileged. I'm saying they're not.
Stop. Let me finish my point before you respond. You're not even listening. You can't wait to talk, so you don't listen. Relax.
Your point contradicts what was just said.
My point doesn't contradict it. That's why you need to listen. Even if it were true that it was women were 1,000 times more likely to be SA'd than men, how would that prove that men in society were privileged over women?
I did not say men are privileged over women. I said women are not privileged over men, which is what he stated in the first place and has stated on several occasions.
Yeah, but he said he was giving a statement for the draft that it's a privilege that women are not drafted. That is the case, correct?
No, that's not the only thing he said. He said in general he feels he would argue that women are privileged.
Let's just start one thing at a time. Can we just start with the draft? Are women privileged by not having to do the draft?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Then what would you call it that only one sex has to do an activity for conscription where they go put their life on the line and may potentially lose it, versus the other sex not having to do that? What would you call that besides?
I'd call it a choice tragically made by that sex, as proven.
Men don't choose.
That sex did not collectively make that choice.
Strawman Fallacy donated $100. She stands her argument on men being more likely to be sociopaths, then follows up with "I'm sorry you feel that way." Quintessential gaslighting from someone with zero self-awareness. Matriarchy?
You said it's a choice? It's not a choice to be drafted. That's
No, I didn't say it's a choice.
You literally, the word choice.
No, I said men as a whole, like the men who represented men chose that.
Yeah, okay.
From a Congress that was all men at the time.
Okay,
when only
so
men
yes.
made
Is
the
anybody
rules.
who's alive right this second, any man who's alive right this second, have a choice in whether or not they're drafted?
Yeah, the ones in Congress.
The men who are conscripted, do they have a choice in being conscripted or not?
You're not. There's no draft right now. Who knows?
That's not my question.
They might not.
If there
ever
was a draft
that.
right now, would men? If there was a draft right now, would the men who got drafted have a choice in being drafted or not?
We just danced way back from where we were at in this conversation.
Yeah, can you answer my question now?
I already did.
Yeah, can you answer it
multiple
again?
times?
Can the men?
We
the men
just
who are
danced all the way
right?
back to the draft from way into past policing. We were on a whole new layer, and now we're all the way back to me reiterating the same shit.
Yeah, I know. So can we get back to that? So anyway, the conscription portion of
You
this.
can talk to yourself.
So you just
Because I'm not going to repeat myself. No, I'm not dancing back to the same shit we just talked about. You can literally talk to yourself about shit if you still don't agree with me on it.
You're trying to evade.
Yeah, you're
So-
doing everything possible
So, I mean,
let's
how
go,
about-
to answer the
let's
question.
push forward to where we no, because we
You're
already
not.
discussed
Hold on.
those.
Stop. You're not going to dictate the terms and the flow of the
But like
conversation.
I said, then he can talk to himself. Like I already
Then
answered
you can
this.
leave. You can leave. Go ahead.
You're a bitch. Like, oh God.
You're a fucking bitch,
No,
and
you're
I'm
a
glad you're
bitch,
getting kicked
'cause
out of here.
You wouldn't say shit like this to me if I was with my man.
I'd say
You
it
have
to your
so many
face too, you
balls.
stupid
You
bitch.
have
Get out of
so
here.
many balls to talk crazy to women, but you don't got no guts to talk like this to a man.
That. Get out of here.
You are a bunch of pussies with little dicks.
You didn't play this out.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, okay. Hold on.
This is Sparta!
Can I ask you how many cigarettes have you lit?
He seems stressed.
I was gonna ask, is that
Very
in
stressful.
relationship to how stressed you are?
Tell her to message the Instagram page.
That I smoke?
With it after the show. She can message the IG page and we'll get it handled.
You do realize that people smoke cigarettes, right?
Yes, I do. I'm just wondering how many you've smoked in the course of this show.
I don't know. It's a long show. Probably quite a few.
Oh, okay.
That escalated.
I just look up every 5 seconds and see a new one. I just thought it was interesting.
God. Okay. I mean, if she's gonna be rude to Andrew.
Look, she started by calling you a bitch. That's the only reason I responded, because she's like, "You're a little bitch." So I was like, "Well, if you're gonna talk shit, you know."
Oh, didn't I start kicking her off before that?
Yeah, but she
Yeah.
responded with, "You're a little bitch." So it's like, well.
Oh, and then you
it's-
started shit talking.
Yeah.
I mean, no, but it's like even before that, when you were like trying to engage with her in good faith in the conversation, and then she's like, "Oh, well, we already moved on from that, so I'm not going to continue engaging with you." It's just like, that's just okay. Get out then at that point, you know. So. Good times. Okay, I think we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. Oh my God, yo! But hey, Andrew, thank you for having my back there, man. Appreciate it, bro. Of course, Spencer goes to the bathroom when she's about to fucking.
It's good that you pay him in Chilean currency, so that's like $2 an hour.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Hold on.
That